In Willow Creek, a town where the passage of time seemed to linger in the air, laced with the sweet scent of blooming wisteria and the distant sound of children's laughter, the sudden disappearance of 12-year-old Emily Morgan tore through the community like a chilling wind. This was a place where history whispered from the corners of colonial houses and secrets were tucked away behind the smiles of its residents. Detective John Hawthorne, known for his meticulous methods and a career built on unraveling the darkest mysteries, arrived in Willow Creek under a sky heavy with unspoken questions. The town, with its rustic charm and idyllic streets, seemed an unlikely setting for a disappearance that had sent ripples of fear through the community. At the heart of this mystery was the Morgan household. Michael and Sarah Morgan had moved to Willow Creek 10 years ago, seeking a quiet life away from the city's chaos. Their home, a picturesque two-story house with a white picket fence and a garden that bloomed year-round, was a testament to their love for this peaceful haven. Michael, a sturdy man with calloused hands and a gentle demeanour, ran the local garage. He was known for his friendly banter and his willingness to help at any hour. His love for cars was only matched by his love for his family, particularly his daughter Emily, whom he affectionately called his little spark plug. Sarah, with her delicate features and warm smile, was a beloved figure in the community. As a third-grade teacher at the local elementary school, she had a way with children, her patience and understanding fostering an environment where young minds flourished. Her passion for teaching was evident in the way her eyes lit up when she spoke of her students' achievements. Yet, beneath this veneer of marital harmony, there lay an undercurrent of tension between Michael and Sarah. Their relationship, once a beacon of love and mutual respect, had begun to show signs of strain. Michael, often preoccupied with his work, had become more withdrawn, his once easygoing nature clouded by a quiet restlessness. Sarah, on the other hand, seemed to carry an air of melancholy, her smiles not reaching her eyes as they once did. The spark that had once defined their marriage appeared to flicker uncertainly in recent times. Hawthorne, upon meeting them, sensed this subtle discord. Their reactions to Emily's disappearance were a study in contrasts. Sarah, composed yet distant, seemed to be in a state of denial, her speech measured, her emotions tightly reined in. Her eyes, when they met Hawthorne's, were pools of unshed tears, hinting at a depth of sorrow she was not ready to reveal. In contrast, Michael was a picture of raw anguish. His hands, usually so steady when working on engines, trembled as he clutched a photograph of Emily. His voice broke when he spoke of the last time he saw her, a tinge of guilt lacing his words. It was as if he blamed himself for not being there to protect her. Their home, once filled with the laughter and chatter of a happy family, now echoed with a haunting silence. Emily's presence was everywhere, in the photos adorning the walls, in her neatly arranged bedroom, and in the void that her absence had left. Her room, a sanctuary of her youthful spirit, was adorned with posters of her favourite pop stars, shelves lined with books ranging from fairy tales to young adult mysteries, and a desk cluttered with art supplies. It was a stark reminder of the life that had been disrupted so suddenly. As Hawthorne delved deeper into their lives, he uncovered the layers of a marriage under stress. Financial worries, unspoken resentments, and the everyday trials of life had taken their toll on the Morgans. Yet there was an unbreakable bond that held them together, their love for Emily. In her they found a common ground, a reason to push through the toughest of times. The investigation into Emily's disappearance soon revealed that her last known whereabouts were on her way to the local library after school. The librarian, Mrs. Whitaker, remembered her fondly, a bright child always lost in books. But on the day she vanished, Emily never made it to the library. As Hawthorne left the Morgan household, the image of a family portrait caught his eye. It was a picture of the Morgans in happier times, smiling and close-knit, a stark contrast to the broken family he had just encountered. This image stayed with him as he drove through the town, the fading light casting long shadows on the streets of Willow Creek. The detective knew that beneath the serene surface of this town, secrets lay hidden, and it was his job to bring them to light. Detective John Hawthorne's next step in unravelling the mystery of Emily Morgan's disappearance led him through the winding streets of Willow Creek, where each corner seemed to whisper secrets of its own. His keen eyes missed nothing, especially the unspoken words hanging in the air. The librarian, Mrs. Whitaker, remembered Emily vividly, a girl whose imagination seemed to leap off the pages of the books she devoured. Yet on the day she disappeared, Emily's journey to the world of stories was cut short. The librarian mentioned something else, a detail that caught Hawthorne's attention. Emily had seemed distracted lately, often glancing over her shoulder as if expecting someone or something. Hawthorne's investigation took him next to the local school. Here, he pieced together a picture of Emily from her classmates and teachers, a bright, lively girl loved by many. But beneath this surface bubbled an undercurrent of something more enigmatic. A classmate, hesitant at first, mentioned seeing Emily in the days before her disappearance, talking to a man unfamiliar to the small community. The description was vague, a shadowy figure, much like the one Hawthorne remembered from a photograph in the Morgans' home. This figure, barely discernible in the background of a family outing, had seemed out of place, an anomaly in an otherwise happy memory. Hawthorne's mind lingered on this shadowy figure. Was it merely a trick of light, or a clue hiding in plain sight? The connection seemed tenuous, yet his instincts urged him to probe deeper. He decided to revisit the Morgan household, to scrutinize the photograph again. Back at the house, Sarah Morgan handed him the photograph with a trembling hand. Hawthorne examined it closely, noticing how the figure's presence seemed to cast an almost palpable pall over the scene. He inquired about the day the photo was taken. The Morgans recalled it as a family picnic at the nearby park, a day like any other, but couldn't remember seeing anyone unusual. Hawthorne couldn't shake the feeling that this figure was more than a mere coincidence. The detective's search expanded to the dense woods surrounding the town. Legends and rumours swirled around these woods, tales of ghosts and unexplained occurrences that were popular among the town's children. Hawthorne, a man of logic, put little stock in these tales, yet he couldn't deny the eerie feeling that crept over him as he ventured deeper into the woods. His exploration led him to an old, abandoned cabin hidden under the overgrowth and forgotten by time. Inside, the air was thick with the mustiness of neglect. Scattered across the dusty floor, Hawthorne found a series of drawings. They were undoubtedly Emily's, her name scribbled in the corner of each. The drawings were typical of a child, images of her family, her home, the town. But one recurring element sent a chill down Hawthorne's spine. The shadowy figure, always lurking in the background, just as in the photograph. In these drawings, the figure was more pronounced, its presence more ominous. Hawthorne's mind raced as he pieced together the puzzle. This figure, whether real or imagined, had clearly made a significant impact on Emily. Was it a figment of her imagination, a child's way of processing some unseen stress, or was it something more sinister, a real threat that had somehow infiltrated the Morgan family's life? The detective decided to delve into the town's history, seeking any clues that might explain this mysterious figure. He visited the local archives, sifting through old newspapers and records. What he found was a history of Willow Creek that few talked about, a series of unexplained incidents dating back decades, each involving a shadowy figure seen in the vicinity of various unsettling events. With each passing day, the tension in Willow Creek grew. The townsfolk, once open and friendly, began to close in on themselves, fear and suspicion creeping into their once peaceful lives. Hawthorne felt the weight of their collective gaze, their hopes and fears resting on his shoulders. He revisited the Morgans, hoping to glean more insight. This time, he noticed a shift in their demeanour. Sarah, previously composed, now seemed on the edge of unravelling, her sentences trailing off, her gaze distant and haunted. Michael, on the other hand, had turned inward, his anguish morphing into a quiet desperation. Hawthorne observed the subtle dynamics between them, the way they avoided each other's eyes, the unspoken accusations that hung in the air. The detective realised that the shadowy figure was not just a presence in Emily's drawings or an anomaly in a photograph. It had become a metaphor for the unspoken fears and secrets that were tearing this family apart. As Hawthorne left the Morgan household, the photograph in hand, he knew that the key to solving Emily's disappearance lay in understanding the mystery of the shadowy figure. Detective John Hawthorne's investigation into the disappearance of Emily Morgan had reached a critical juncture. The pattern of unsolved disappearances from neighbouring towns, each eerily similar to Emily's case, suggested a sinister thread weaving through the region. Hawthorne, with decades of experience under his belt, knew that such patterns were rarely coincidental. The realization that they were potentially dealing with a serial abductor sent a shiver down his spine. The detective spent long nights poring over case files, maps and witness statements, searching for a connection. Each case involved a child around Emily's age, vanishing without leaving a single trace behind. Hawthorne's mind raced with theories, but it was the haunting image of the shadowy figure recurring in Emily's drawings and the photograph that kept resurfacing in his thoughts. This figure, he was convinced, was central to unravelling the mystery. His relentless pursuit of leads brought Hawthorne to a chilling discovery. A local historian, intrigued by the detective's inquiries, shared an old town legend about a shadowy figure, a spectre that had been part of Willow Creek's lore for generations. This figure, according to the legend, was a harbinger of misfortune, appearing before untoward events. Hawthorne, a skeptic of superstitions, couldn't help but ponder the eerie coincidence of this legend with the cases at hand. Then, one fog-laden evening, Hawthorne received an anonymous tip. The caller's voice was hushed, laced with fear, directing him to the town's old cemetery. The detective, his instincts on high alert, proceeded with caution. Under the ghostly glow of the moon, the gravestones cast long, sombre shadows, creating a tapestry of eeriness that seemed to envelop Hawthorne as he walked among them. In the far corner of the cemetery, Hawthorne discovered a recently disturbed grave. His heart pounded against his chest as he unearthed a small, dirt-covered box, its presence there completely out of place. He opened it with bated breath, revealing a collection of mementos, trinkets and photographs belonging to the missing children. Among them lay a bracelet, unmistakably Emily's, one that her parents had described in detail. The discovery of this box was a turning point in the investigation. It was concrete evidence linking the disappearances, a morbid trophy collection of a twisted mind. The town, already reeling from fear and uncertainty, was now engulfed in a wave of paranoia. Hawthorne's discovery made headlines, the media descending upon Willow Creek, each vying to unravel the story of this macabre find. Hawthorne, however, found himself at a crossroads. The evidence suggested a serial abductor, yet something didn't sit right with him. The placement of the box, the careful selection of items, it all seemed too deliberate, as if meant to be found. He couldn't shake off the feeling that there was more to this than met the eye. The detective's investigation took a new turn, focusing on individuals who had been residents of the town for over a decade. He methodically interviewed long-standing community members, searching for any clue that might lead him to the perpetrator. His search led him to several individuals, but one in particular caught his attention: Dr. George Bennett, the town's well-respected doctor. Dr. Bennett was an integral part of Willow Creek, known for his involvement in community events and his particular interest in children's health and welfare. He had been the paediatrician for many of the town's children, including Emily. Hawthorne found inconsistencies in Bennett's alibis corresponding to the dates of the disappearances. This discovery sent a ripple of shock through the town. Dr. Bennett, a pillar of the community, a trusted figure. Could he be involved in something so sinister? Confronting Bennett was a delicate matter. The doctor, taken aback by the accusations, vehemently denied any involvement. His demeanour was calm, his explanations rational, but Hawthorne sensed a veneer of rehearsed composure. A search warrant was obtained for Bennett's property, and what they found there sent shockwaves through the community. In a hidden basement behind a false wall lay a chilling scene, walls covered in photographs of Emily and the other missing children. The images were obsessive, detailed, each child captured in various candid moments. It was a shrine to the missing, a disturbing testament to a mind that viewed these children not as victims, but as objects of fascination. Yet, amidst this horrifying discovery, there was no sign of Emily or the other children. The photographs, though unsettling, were not proof of Bennett's involvement in their disappearances. Hawthorne found himself at a standstill, evidence that suggested guilt, yet no concrete proof to tie Bennett to the crimes. The town of Willow Creek, once a haven of tranquility, had turned into a landscape of mistrust and fear. In Willow Creek, The once tranquil community was now a cauldron of suspicion and fear. The arrest of Dr. George Bennett had set the town abuzz with rumours and theories, but Detective John Hawthorne felt a nagging doubt that gnawed at the edges of the neatly laid out evidence. Something was amiss, and it was this intuition that led him to call a town meeting, hoping to shake loose any overlooked details or witnesses. The community centre, usually a hub for cheerful gatherings, was now filled with a tense, apprehensive crowd. Hawthorne scanned the room, his eyes settling on the Morgans. Michael sat, a figure of stoic despair, while Sarah, beside him, appeared visibly shaken, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. As Hawthorne presented the facts of the case, a palpable unease settled over the room. He opened the floor to questions, hoping to ignite a spark that would illuminate the murky depths of the case. It was then that an unexpected turn unravelled the carefully woven tapestry of the investigation. A local, emboldened by the murmurs of the crowd, posed a probing question directly at Sarah. The question, sharp and accusatory, sliced through the tense air. It was about the shadowy figure seen in the family photograph and echoed in Emily's drawings. The room fell into a hushed silence, all eyes turning towards Sarah. Sarah, caught off guard, faltered at first. Her response, initially measured, began to fray as more questions were directed at her. Hawthorne watched, a growing sense of unease churning in his gut. It wasn't just the nature of the questions that unsettled him, but the subtle shift he observed in Sarah. Her demeanour, once a facade of composed grief, was slowly unravelling, revealing glimpses of something else, something unsettling. As the barrage of questions continued, Sarah's composure cracked. Her voice, once steady, now fluctuated between defensive anger and a haunting fear. It was in this moment of intense scrutiny that the facade completely shattered. Sarah's persona shifted dramatically, manifesting a startlingly different demeanour. This new Sarah was erratic, her speech disjointed, oscillating between moments of lucidity and confusion. Hawthorne, a seasoned detective, recognised the signs. The fragmented responses, the sudden shifts in demeanour. It was as if he was witnessing the emergence of a split personality. Sarah, in a moment of distress, revealed herself to be the shadowy figure, not in physical form, but as a manifestation of her fractured psyche. The room erupted into chaos, the townspeople recoiling in shock and disbelief. Michael, who had sat silently, was now aghast, his expression one of heartbreak and confusion. Hawthorne realised that this was more than a mere breakdown. It was the unveiling of the true architect behind Emily's disappearance. Amidst the pandemonium, Hawthorne acted swiftly, ushering the Morgans away from the prying eyes of the town. As he led Sarah out, her moments of lucidity interspersed with bouts of confusion, it became painfully clear that she had been living with an undiagnosed and untreated dissociative identity disorder. Her alternate personality, born from deep-seated psychological trauma, had taken over, orchestrating Emily's disappearance in a misguided attempt to protect her. The revelation at the town meeting was a pivotal moment in the case. The shadowy figure that had loomed over the investigation was no longer an external suspect, but a manifestation of a disturbed mind. As Sarah was taken into care, the town of Willow Creek reeled from the realization that the horror they feared had been living among them, hidden behind the familiar face of a neighbour, a teacher, a friend. For Hawthorne, the case had taken a turn from the realms of criminal investigation into the depths of human psychology. The task ahead was not just to ensure Emily's safe return, but to unravel the complex layers of a troubled mind, a journey that would challenge his every belief about guilt, innocence, and the nature of evil. In the quiet aftermath of Sarah Morgan's confession, Willow Creek found itself grappling with a truth that was both shocking and heart-wrenching. The town, which had once turned its suspicious gaze towards Dr. George Bennett, now looked upon the Morgans with a complex mix of sympathy and disbelief. For Detective John Hawthorne, the revelation was a poignant reminder of the hidden depths of the human psyche. Sarah's confession unravelled the final threads of the mystery. She admitted to creating a hidden space within their home, a place where she believed she could protect Emily from the perceived dangers of the world. This protective instinct, distorted by her psychological struggles, had led her to isolate Emily, unwittingly becoming the architect of her own daughter's disappearance. Hawthorne, accompanied by a team of officers, returned to the Morgan household. With a heavy heart, he searched for the hidden room Sarah had described. Behind a false wall in the basement, they found it, a small, dimly lit room, its walls covered in Emily's drawings. There, huddled in the corner, was Emily, physically unharmed but visibly shaken. The reunion between Emily and Michael was a torrent of tears and relief, a poignant scene that etched itself into the hearts of all present. In the weeks that followed, the Morgans withdrew from public view. Sarah was placed under psychiatric care, her condition treated with the sensitivity it required. Michael, faced with the complexity of his wife's illness and the trauma his daughter had endured, struggled to piece together the semblance of a normal life. Emily, resilient yet deeply affected by her ordeal, began the slow process of healing, supported by her father and a community that had rallied around her. Dr. George Bennett, his name cleared but his reputation tarnished, left Willow Creek in search of a fresh start. The town, which had once held him in high esteem, could now only offer him apologetic glances and whispered words of regret. The doctor's departure marked the end of an era for Willow Creek, a painful reminder of the rush to judgment and the cost of unfounded suspicions. Hawthorne, as he prepared to leave the town, felt a profound sense of melancholy. The case had taken a toll on him, challenging his perceptions of right and wrong, innocence and guilt. He realised that the true horror lay not in the shadowy figures of urban legends, but in the shadows of the human mind, where fear and love could intertwine in unpredictable and tragic ways. The detective's car rolled slowly down the main street of Willow Creek, the town's rustic charm now tinged with a sombre hue. The Morgan house, with its white picket fence and tyre swing, stood silently, a testament to a story that had shaken the town to its core. As Hawthorne drove away, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the landscape. Willow Creek, once a symbol of pastoral peace, now bore the scars of a darkness that had lurked within. In the rearview mirror, the town receded into the distance, its secrets and stories fading into the twilight. Hawthorne knew he would carry the echoes of this case with him for years to come. In the world of criminal investigation, answers often led to more questions and closure was a relative term. But for now, as the road stretched out before him, the detective took solace in the knowledge that Emily was safe, and the shadows of Willow Creek, while not forgotten, had been brought into the light.